So I have a lot that I think about when it comes to Trump saying, that many sides. There's many sides. Now there's both sides. So he said there's many sides. 2 days, didn't say anything, comes back out, then reads off the teleprompter, says racism, white supremacy, KKK, and neo-Nazis. He left out Confederate. There's no Confederate. But he said neo-Nazis and the KKK. But he read off the teleprompter, and it looked a little fake, and that's what Charles Krauthammer. This is exactly what he's pointing out. So he basically undid the good graces. So yeah, you said the right thing. 2 days later, you finally said the right thing. But then the day after, you fucked it all up with that press conference. So here's Charles Krauthammer, who I disagree with everything. That's why this is like, wait, what?
To critique what he did today on the grounds that it distracts from the agenda or it was a tactical mistake, I believe is a cop-out. What Trump did today was a moral disgrace. What he did is he reverted back to where he was on Saturday and made it very clear that what he read on Sunday, was it Monday, 2 days later,
Monday,
was a hostage tape, clearly reading off a prompter, saying these denunciations of the KKK, etc. That wasn't Trump speaking, that was the aide speaking. The reason it's a moral disgrace is this. This generation, for the last 50, 60 years, all the modern presidents.
And then he's going to go on and just say that this country particularly has a issue with racism and white supremacy, so you have to be very careful with that issue. And he said it's a moral disgrace. It is a moral disgrace. It absolutely is. There's enemies on both sides. Check out that Vice news, okay? So they're outside agitators, a shit ton of outside agitators with about 50 different flags, right? The Confederate flag, Nazi flag, this flag, every other fucking flag. And they all outside agitators, 80% of them had semi-automatic weapons. That's what Terry McAuliffe said, 80% of them. Now, I had watched, a lot of the footage, and I didn't see them all carrying assault rifles or semi-automatic weapons, but there were some. And I think there's a concern with that, okay? Here's, back in the, 1850s or whatever, during the Wild West days. During the Wild West days, everybody had a gun because that was more safer to do it that way. Everybody had a gun, but it was holstered. You holstered your gun, and the moment you pulled, the moment you pull your gun out of your holster, you were a dead man, right? People could shoot you because they think that you intended to shoot that gun if you pulled it out of the holster. And it's also the duels, right? You have duels, right? They're staring off one another. The first one to pull their gun is sort of the coward or the loser or whatever, and then the other person is then justified in shooting them down. So the problem with automatic weapons is that, they're not holstered. So I saw a picture with a guy, he was holding this, big old, it was left hand, or his right hand, but it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. He was holding a big ass fucking, automatic weapon in his hands, right there, in his hands. So all he had to do is just like pop, pop. So there has to be a way to holster. There has to be a way to holster the weapons, or, if you are carrying an assault rifle in your hands, well, that's the same as pulling. It's not holstered. So I think anybody would be justified in thinking that you might, do them harm. Some people have like it strapped onto their back. I guess it's a big gun. So what do you do with the big gun? I don't know. I don't know if cops don't carry assault rifles around, so I don't know why Americans would. But I think we need some sort of protocol of how you're going to carry an assault rifle with you. Then, you got to holster it somehow. You got to holster it. Because if you don't holster it, then you pulled. But none of that even matters. The 80% of the people brought semi-automatic weapons. They brought, pepper spray and clubs and a bunch of shit. And they're going to be doing these rallies all over the place. And then listen to them. The Vice interview, they were fucking psychos. They were sitting there saying, like, oh, I'm not going to say I'm non-violent. He tried to make it sound like, well, we're here, we're the one with the permits, we're peacefully protesting, so you're one of the non-violent protesters. Oh, I'm not going to say I'm a non-violent Why wouldn't you say that? Because you're a violent person? Yes, that's exactly, he admitted to it. He's like, he didn't want the term non-violent put on him. So all these guys, all these groups are coming out from different towns. They're all carrying weapons. And Terry McAuliffe had said that the police stood down because the neo-Nazis had better weapons than the police. Well, my God, that's exactly... I mean, in terms of the Second Amendment and tyranny, like, it's the opposite, you know? If the left could do to Terry McAuliffe what the neo-Nazis have done to... If the left could do to Donald Trump what the Nazis have done to Terry McAuliffe, but it'd be shut down then. No way that would happen, right? But essentially, they boxed him in the corner. It's grabbed Terry McAuliffe by the scruff of the neck. Chris Hedges actually talks about this one scene when Nixon and Kissinger are looking outside at all the protesters, and then Nixon says, "Oh my God, Henry, they're going to tear down the barricades and they're going to get us." And that's what Chris Hedges says, that the politicians, that's exactly where they need to be. They need to be like, essentially where we put them. And it's also Thomas Jefferson. He says that tyranny is when the people are afraid of the government, and democracy is when the government is afraid of the people. So, the neo-Nazis, white supremacists, KKK, Confederate fuckheads, all of them are pieces of shit. They're anti-American. People want to say, defend free speech. I saw this one fucking quote, and yeah, you defend free speech, but come in locked and loaded, with every single weapon out there to provoke and to riot. I don't know. I mean, I guess here's what I would do. I'm the mayor of the town. You come in, but the first moment I see some bullshit, I shut it down, right? First moment I see some bullshit. No, that's not going to go on. And then people want to say, call me up, hey, we get a permit? We're Nazis, we want to march to your town. I'll be like, no. I will fight this, And then I don't even know why you need permits anyways, right? We're allowed to lawfully assemble. We don't need permission to do that. So the moral equivalency of saying that, there's a fascist, the problem with their free speech is that their free speech is to advocate the overthrow of government, to advocate the destruction of people. If you're Jewish or black, you're not allowed to exist. You can't exist, And so if your free speech is to instigate violence against other people because you don't want them to exist, it's a threat. It's something different now, isn't it? I'm pretty absolutist when it comes to free speech. So it has nothing to do with them, going to a rally and speaking their mind. They didn't go to the rally. They didn't go there to speak their mind. They went there to fucking stir up some shit. And unfortunately, the media doesn't cover anything unless some shit goes down, right? So that's, I don't know. It's not both sides. And a part of me, yeah, I'll go ahead and admit this. A part of me is, biased. So, Confederates, neo-Nazis, KKK, they all have a right to speak. But if, someone punched a Nazi and they got knocked out, Nazis, the greatest generation fought the fucking Nazis. The anti-fascist were the American troops. The American troops were anti-fascist during the Confederacy. The black troops were anti-fascist. Put the guns in the hand of the slaves, they're the anti-fascist. So, I don't believe it's a moral equivalency. Antifa, Black Lives Matter, I've been to a Black Lives Matter event, nobody had any weapons. Antifa is anti-fascist, and I think that, in terms of power, if you have to meet them, you have to equal. If you don't meet them where they're at, then they'll just run roughshod over you. And that's exactly what Terry McAuliffe had said, that the police failed because the neo-Nazis had better weapons. They had better weapons. That's why they failed? Because the state didn't have as good weapons as the Nazis do? Holy shit. So, that's a situation that needs to be addressed, right? Now it's like, maybe we need to militarize the police. Maybe we need more police. I think the anti-fascist is the antidote. I'm pro-anti-fascist. Anti-fascist is the antidote. So the fascist is the violent thug, so someone's going to come up, punch you in the mouth. The anti-fascist is the one who hits that guy before he pulls, you know, but it's the same thing with the dueling, right? So the fascist is the guy that just carries a gun around and just shoots you, right? He don't listen to protocol or anything like that. But the anti-fascist is the one that, you know, gets him before he gets anybody else. And that's a much harder thing to do. Because if I could just go around here and just be fascist, everybody, hey, do what I say. I'm the bully. You just do what I say. But to stop a bully, like, you can't go around just bullying people until they bully you. Then turn on the bully, you know. Oh, you want to bully me? Nah, you're not going to bully me. I'm going to bully you. You want to sit there and try to push me around and tell me to do what you say or else there's going to be violence? How about this? You get the fuck out of here or there's going to be violence on you. So you want to bully me and then threaten violence? Well, I'm going to put it right back on you. And that's fair. I don't know anybody who would say and defend, be like, well, you know, old Jim Bob came over to my house threatening violence. And I was like, okay, sir, whatever you want. No, self-defense is logical. Self-defense is intelligence. And Antifa, as the way I understand it, being anti-fascist. You know, I think it is a left fascism, but it's a fascism that meets the fascism. So I don't hear about Antifa. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for the organization. I'm only going to speak for the, you know, the idea. And Antifa means anti-fascist. So, yeah, there's no moral equivalency. Charles Krauthammer and me are on the same page, which that's, you know, I mean, in terms of uniting the country, that's, that's pretty remarkable. But, yeah, there's no moral equivalence. If it would have just been Antifa there, you know, there wouldn't have been the violence. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say is, like, they came for violence. They came, you know, armed to the teeth. And then the person that murdered the other person was a fucking Nazi. So just look at the one incident. One guy at the car driving over everybody. People want to say he got hit with a brick. Well, what's that about? You know, blame the entire crowd based upon one person's action? He didn't have to drive through the crowd of people. He could have turned right. He could have turned left. He could have got the hell out of there. But instead of getting the hell out of there, you know, he decided to drive through people. So, I guess the person that threw the brick, if there's yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm assuming, and that's another thing. Their arguments, I mean, goddamn, they're fucking really organized, and their arguments are, you know, I mean, they've done something here. They've fucking done something here, and unfortunately, they were the ones that was in the wrong, and they're still doing it. They were the ones that were in the wrong, and then they're like, oh yeah, that person died, who gives a shit? Who cares? And now, you know, you got Stefan Molyneux making all the jokes. Well, you got the protest, and then you got the riots, and the protests, and then the drive-overs. Huh? Did you hear what I said? I just said it was a drive-over. Ha ha ha! Yeah, Heather Heyer's dead now, Stefan. Heather Heyer is now dead. A drive-over. So he's making jokes, and then he just put out a video now, something about leftism, violence of the left. Yeah, okay. That's such fucking bullshit. It's so fucking... don't believe a fucking word any of these assholes say. I mean, they want to sit there and say, well, look at the tactics that the Antifa is doing. What you represent as a fucking Confederate is the enemy of this country. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess... You have a right to speak, but the symbol itself is threatening. You know, I carry around a fucking Nazi, you know, symbol or a Confederate symbol, and you're a black person. And I've heard people talk about this shit. So someone's like, hey, why you got the Confederate flag? Well, because I don't like, you know, the N-words. That's racist. That's fucking racist. And so when they fly the Confederate flag, I don't like black people. That's what I'm saying. All black people I don't like your existence. I don't like who you're here, and I don't care for your oppression. I don't recognize you as a human. So, I guess I wouldn't mind that speech if it was, like, inept, but the speech has violence, right, you know, behind it, and then once it becomes violent, it's not speech no more. So say what the hell you want to say, without your guns, without your weapons, without driving over people, without driving through a car. That's what Muslims do. That's what a lot of terrorism, right? The London Bridge attack was just a car driving over people. So that's what they did. They're taking tactics from ISIS, and then they're fucking terrorists. It is domestic terrorism. He attacked a civilian population for political reasons. So that's what that James Fields Jr. did. So yeah, I don't think there's any moral equivalency. Fuck the Confederacy, fuck the Nazis, fuck the KKK. So, you know, I am biased, and they have a right to speak, but if, I don't know, if you know, you're not, a Nazi has a right to speak, but if you punch a Nazi, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. So, you know, John Masters, peace.